My dear friends, beautiful souls on this incredible journey of life, I stand before you today with a message that has the power to transform not just your life, but your very understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. We're here to explore a profound truth. To make a change in life, you have to rewrite your agreement. These words hold within them the key to unlocking a life of purpose, joy, and unlimited potential. As I look out at all of you, I see beings of infinite possibility. Each of you carries within you the power to create, to transform, to become. But I also see many of you bound by invisible chains, held back by agreements you may not even realize you've made. Today, we're going to shine a light on these agreements and discover how to rewrite them in a way that serves your highest good. Now, you might be wondering, Wayne, what do you mean by agreement? I don't remember signing any contract about my life. And you're right, my friends. These agreements weren't written on paper or signed in ink. They're much more subtle, much more pervasive than that. These are the agreements we've made with ourselves, with others, with the world around us about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve in life. These agreements form the foundation of our beliefs, our attitudes, our very perception of reality. They're like the operating system of a computer, running silently in the background, influencing every thought, every decision, every action we take. And the thing is, many of these agreements were made when we were very young, before we had the wisdom and discernment to question them. Let me share with you a story that illustrates the power of these agreements. I once knew a woman named Sarah. Sarah was incredibly talented, creative, and hardworking. She had dreams of becoming a successful artist, of sharing her unique vision with the world. But despite her talent and her efforts, Sarah always seemed to sabotage her own success. She would miss deadlines, turn down opportunities, and find reasons why she couldn't pursue her dreams. As I got to know Sarah better, I discovered the root of her self-sabotage. You see, when Sarah was a little girl, her father, who himself had failed to achieve his dreams, often said to her, "Dreams are for dreamers. Practical people focus on making a living, not chasing fantasies." This message, repeated over and over, became an agreement that Sarah made with herself and with the world. I am practical, not a dreamer. Pursuing my art is impractical and selfish. This agreement, made in childhood, was running Sarah's life as an adult. It was causing her to hold herself back, to deny her own talents and desires. Sarah wasn't consciously aware of this agreement, but its effects were profoundly shaping her life. When Sarah finally recognized this agreement and understood its impact on her life, she was shocked. She realized that she had been living her life based on someone else's fears and limitations. This awareness was the first step in Sarah's journey to rewrite her agreement. Sarah began to question this long-held belief. Was it really true that dreams were only for dreamers? Was pursuing her passion truly impractical and selfish? As she explored these questions, she discovered countless examples of people who had built successful, fulfilling lives by following their dreams. She realized that her artistic talents could not only bring her joy, but could also be a source of income and a way to contribute positively to the world. Slowly, with courage and determination, Sarah began to rewrite her agreement. I am both practical and a dreamer. My artistic talents are a gift, and pursuing them is not only acceptable but necessary for me to live a fulfilling life. By following my passion, I can create value for myself and others. This new agreement didn't magically solve all of Sarah's problems overnight. She still faced challenges and setbacks, but it fundamentally changed how she approached her life and her art. She began to take her work seriously, to seek out opportunities, to invest in her skills. And gradually, her external reality began to shift to match her new internal agreement. Within a few years, Sarah had established herself as a respected artist. She was making a living from her art, touching people's lives with her creativity and feeling a deep sense of fulfillment, all because she had the courage to recognize and rewrite an agreement that no longer served her. Sarah's story is not unique. Each of us carries within us agreements that shape our lives, for better or for worse. Some of these agreements empower us, pushing us to grow and achieve. Others limit us, holding us back from our true potential. The key is to become aware of these agreements and to consciously choose which ones we want to keep and which ones we need to rewrite. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Wayne, I don't have any limiting agreements. I'm positive and optimistic about life, and that may be true for some areas of your life. But I invite you to look deeper. Often, our most limiting agreements are the ones we're least aware of. They're so ingrained in our way of being that we don't even question them. We simply accept them as the way things are. For instance, how many of you have an agreement that says life is a struggle, or you have to work hard to be successful, or I'm not good enough? These kinds of agreements are so common in our society that we often don't even recognize them as we see them as facts. But my friends, they are not facts. They're agreements we've made, and agreements can be rewritten. Let's explore for a moment how these agreements are formed. As children, we're like sponges, absorbing information and beliefs from our environment. We learn not just from what we're explicitly taught, but from what we observe, from how we're treated, from the unspoken rules of our family and culture. By the time we reach adulthood, we've internalized countless agreements about ourselves and the world. I have to be perfect to be loved. It's not okay to express anger. Money is the root of all evil. I'm not creative. Success means sacrificing personal life. The list goes on and on. And here's the thing. Once we've made these agreements, our minds work tirelessly to prove them true. We selectively perceive information that confirms our agreements and ignore or dismiss information that contradicts them. This is how our agreements become self-fulfilling prophecies. But here's the liberating truth. As we once made these agreements, we have the power to unmake them. We can choose to rewrite our agreements in ways that serve our growth, our joy, our highest good. This is what I mean when I say to make a change in life, you have to rewrite your agreement. Now, rewriting your agreements is not always an easy process. These beliefs have often been with us for many years, reinforced by our experiences and our interpretations of those experiences. Changing them requires courage, persistence, and a willingness to step into the unknown. But I promise you, my friends, the rewards are immeasurable. Let me share with you another story that illustrates the profound impact of rewriting our agreements. I once worked with a man named John who had an agreement that said, "I'm not worthy of love." This agreement had its roots in John's childhood. His parents, though they cared for him, were not emotionally expressive. They rarely praised him or showed affection. As a child, John interpreted this to mean that he wasn't worthy of love. This agreement affected every area of John's life. In his relationships, he would either push people away before they could reject him, or he would become clingy and needy, constantly seeking reassurance. In his career, he would sabotage his own success, believing deep down that he didn't deserve good things. John's agreement that he was unworthy of love was creating a life full of loneliness and unfulfilled potential. When John first became aware of this agreement, he was resistant to the idea of changing it. After all, this belief had been with him for so long that it felt like an integral part of who he was. The thought of letting it go was frightening. What would he be without this familiar, if painful, belief? But as John began to explore this agreement, to question its validity, he started to see how it had been shaping his life in negative ways. He realized that this agreement wasn't protecting him, as he had subconsciously believed, but was instead keeping him from experiencing the love and success he deeply desired. With support and guidance, John began the process of rewriting this core agreement. He started with small steps. Each day, he would look in the mirror and say, "I am worthy of love." At first, this felt fake, even ridiculous, but John persisted. He also began to pay attention to evidence that contradicted his old agreement. He noticed the small acts of kindness from friends and colleagues, the genuine smiles from strangers, the appreciation from his boss for a job well done. Gradually, John's new agreement began to take root. "I am worthy of love" became not just words he said, but a truth he felt in his core. As this new agreement solidified, John's behavior began to change. He became more open in his relationships, more confident in his work, He started taking better care of himself, treating himself with the love and respect he now believed he deserved. The change in John's life was remarkable. He developed deep, meaningful friendships. He excelled in his career, taking on challenges he would have previously avoided, and eventually he met a partner with whom he could share a healthy, loving relationship. All because he had the courage to rewrite a fundamental agreement about himself. John's story, like Sarah's, reminds us of the incredible power we hold to shape our lives by rewriting our agreements. But it also highlights an important truth. Rewriting our agreements is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, a practice that we engage in throughout our lives. You see, our agreements are not set in stone. They're more like software that can be updated as we grow and evolve. As we gain new experiences, new knowledge, new wisdom, we have the opportunity, indeed the responsibility, to review and revise our agreements to ensure they're serving our highest. So how do we go about this process of rewriting our agreements? Let me share with you some practical steps you can take to begin this transformative journey. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. Start paying attention to your thoughts, your reactions, your habitual behaviors. What patterns do you notice? What beliefs seem to be driving these patterns? Often, our agreements reveal themselves in the should statements we make. I should be more successful by now. I should be able to handle this on my own. I shouldn't feel this way. These shoulds are often clues pointing to underlying agreements. Once you've identified an agreement, the next step is to question it. Where did this agreement come from? Is it really true? How has believing this agreement affected my life? Is this agreement serving my highest good? This process of questioning helps to loosen the hold these agreements have on us. After questioning comes the actual rewriting. This is where you consciously choose a new agreement that better serves you. If your old agreement was, I'm not good enough, your new agreement might be, I am constantly growing and improving. If your old agreement was, life is a struggle, your new agreement could be, life is full of opportunities for growth and joy. Now, simply stating a new agreement isn't enough. You need to reinforce it to make it real for you. This is where practices like affirmations, visualization, and acting as if come in. Repeat your new agreement to yourself daily. Visualize yourself living as if this new agreement were true. And most importantly, start acting in alignment with your new agreement, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Remember, my friends, your mind doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. By consistently imagining and acting in alignment with your new agreement, you begin to create new neural pathways in your brain. You're literally rewiring your mind to support your new way of being. It's also crucial to surround yourself with people and environments that support your new agreements. If you're trying to rewrite an agreement about your worth, but you're constantly around people who belittle or criticize you, it's going to be much harder to solidify that new belief. Choose to spend time with people who reflect back to you the truth of your new agreements. Now, I want to address something important. As you embark on this journey of rewriting your agreements, you may encounter resistance, both from within yourself and from others. This is normal. Our old agreements, even when they don't serve us, feel safe because they're familiar. Changing them can feel threatening to our sense of identity and to the status quo of our relationships. When you encounter this resistance, treat it with compassion. Understand that it's a natural part of the growth process. Don't fight against it, but also don't let it stop you. Acknowledge the fear or discomfort. Thank you for trying to protect you. And then gently but firmly continue on your path of transformation. As for resistance from others, remember that? When you change your agreements and start living differently, it can be uncomfortable for people who are used to your old way of being. They might try to pull you back into old patterns. This doesn't necessarily mean they don't support you. Often, it's simply a reflection of their own fears and limiting agreements. Respond with compassion, but stand firm in your commitment to your new agreements. Let me share one more story that illustrates the far-reaching impact of rewriting our agreements. I once knew a teacher named Maria. Maria had grown up with an agreement that said, children should be seen and not heard. This agreement, formed in her own strict upbringing, influenced how she ran her classroom. She expected her students to be quiet and obedient, and she struggled with more energetic or talkative children. As Maria progressed in her career, she began to notice that her students, while well-behaved, seemed to lack enthusiasm for learning. They were hesitant to ask questions or share ideas. Maria felt frustrated and unfulfilled, knowing deep down that she wasn't having the positive impact she had hoped for when she became a teacher. Through a process of self-reflection and professional development, Maria became aware of her agreement about children being seen and not heard. She realized how this belief was limiting not only her students, but also her own growth as an educator. With this awareness, Maria made a conscious decision to rewrite this agreement. Her new agreement became, children's voices and ideas are valuable and should be encouraged. This new agreement felt scary at first. Maria worried about losing control of her classroom, but she committed to this new belief and began to change her teaching approach accordingly. She started encouraging more discussion in her classes. She created opportunities for students to share their thoughts and ask questions. She began to see her role not as a controller of information, but as a facilitator of learning. The change in Maria's classroom was profound. Her students became more engaged, more curious, more excited about learning. They started to take more initiative in their education. And Maria found a new level of joy and fulfillment in her work. By rewriting her agreement, she had not only transformed her own experience, but it also positively impacted the lives of countless students. Maria's story reminds us that when we rewrite our agreements, the effects ripple out far beyond our own lives. We have the power to create positive change, not just for ourselves, but for others around us and for the world at large. Now let's delve deeper into the process of rewriting our agreements. It's important to understand that this isn't just a mental exercise, it's a holistic process that involves our thoughts, our emotions, our bodies, and our actions. When we've held an agreement for a long time, it becomes embedded not just in our minds, but in our very being. We might feel it as a tightness in our chest, and not in our stomach, a heaviness in our shoulders. As we work to rewrite our agreements, we need to pay attention to these physical sensations. They can provide valuable information about our deeply held beliefs and can also be a way to gauge our progress. For example, let's say you're working on rewriting an agreement about public speaking. Your old agreement might be, I'm terrible at public speaking. I always mess up and make a fool of myself. As you work to rewrite this agreement, pay attention to how your body feels when you think about public speaking. Do you feel a tightness in your throat, butterflies in your stomach as you practice your new agreement? Perhaps something like, I have valuable things to say, and I'm constantly improving my communication skills. Notice how these physical sensations change over time. Another crucial aspect of rewriting our agreements is emotional awareness. Our agreements are often tied to deep-seated emotions of fear, shame, anger, sadness. As we work to change our agreements, these emotions, it's important to allow ourselves to feel these emotions, to acknowledge them without judgment. Suppressing or ignoring these feelings can hinder our progress. For instance, if you're working on rewriting an agreement about your self-worth, you might find yourself experiencing waves of sadness or anger as you confront the ways this old agreement has limited you. Allow yourself to feel these emotions. They're a natural part of the healing process. As you continue to reinforce your new, more empowering agreement, you'll likely find that these difficult emotions begin to dissipate, replaced by feelings of hope, excitement, and self-compassion. It's also important to understand that rewriting our agreements is not about positive thinking alone. While positive affirmations can be a powerful tool, they need to be coupled with action and real-world experiences that reinforce our new beliefs. This is where the concept of acting as if comes in. When you're working to establish a new agreement, look for opportunities to act as if this new agreement were already true for you. If your new agreement is, I am confident and capable, seek out situations where you can demonstrate confidence and capability even if you don't feel it fully yet. This might mean volunteering to lead a project at work, speaking up in a meeting, or trying a new skill you've always been interested in. At first, this might feel uncomfortable or even inauthentic. You might hear that inner voice saying, "Who do you think you're fooling?" But remember, you're not trying to fool anyone. You're creating new experiences that align with your new agreement, giving your mind concrete evidence that this new belief is true. Let's look at another example. Imagine you're working to rewrite an agreement about your ability to handle money. Your old agreement might be, "I'm terrible with money, I'll always be in debt." As you work to rewrite this agreement to something like, "I am capable of managing my finances wisely and creating abundance in my life," you would want to couple this new belief with actions that support it. This might mean educating yourself about personal finance, creating and sticking to a budget, or seeking guidance from a financial advisor. Each time you make a wise financial decision, no matter how small, you're providing evidence to support your new agreement. Over time, these actions and the positive results they bring will help to solidify your new belief about your relationship with money. Now, I want to address a question that often comes up when we talk about rewriting our agreements. What about agreements that seem to be based on past experiences or facts? For instance, someone might say, "But Wayne, I really did fail at my last business venture. How can I rewrite that agreement?" This is an excellent question, and it touches on a crucial aspect of this work. You see, the events of our past are fixed, but the meaning we assign to those events is not. We always have the power to reinterpret our experiences in ways that serve our growth and our highest good. In the case of a failed business venture, the fact of the failure itself can't be changed. But the agreement you make about what that failure means is entirely up to you. And disempowering agreement might be, "I'm a failure in business. I should stick to a safe job and never take risks again." A more empowering agreement could be that business didn't succeed, but I learned valuable lessons that will help me in my future endeavors. I am resilient and capable of bouncing back from setbacks. Do you see the difference? Both agreements acknowledge the reality of the past event, but they assign very different meanings to it. One closes doors and limits future possibilities, while the other opens doors and creates opportunities for growth. This principle applies to all areas of our lives, whether it's a relationship that ended, a goal we didn't achieve, or a mistake we made. We always have the power to choose